King streaming software. So it's not going to be an excellent connection, but you know what? Obviously, it's not always an excellent connection. My God, I cannot even pronounce that right. Anyways, hello there, guys. Officer Waters Gaming here. As you can tell by the title of the video, we are reacting to what is supposed to be a NASCAR 21 Ignition Town Hall Q&A with Motorsport Games, as it's already playing. Why did... Anyways, with all the other YouTubers that literally watched this Q&A, I kind of felt it was like my time to actually watch this, to get my feedback on this. So I'm gonna see who else actually. I'm gonna check who else actually reacted to this. I know Michael Mrucz is one of them, but obviously he actually reacted to this. At least that's what I'm thinking. Before he even took a look at all of this as well. I'm gonna see if I can find it before I even. I don't think I can, but you know, he I don't even know if he reacted to it or not, but my friend I always see on YouTube, Fly Guy Only 773. Basically, he actually reacted to this, and so did Gary Owen, and of course, God, Soupy, God. Anyways, by the way, what you heard in the background was actually acting. But we're gonna stick our headset on. Talk to you there, guys, through there. And we're gonna see, just to make sure. Click on that. I believe I have to click on that. At least what I'm thinking. If it actually pops up on there, that is, but what happened? Why is it popping up, dude? Come on. Dell audio, word. What? Is this unit? Oh, yeah, you shouldn't be. Alright, speaker headphone. Preset, nope. That's not even. Bruh. Will it even pop up on there though? I'm just making sure because I don't wanna. It's not even popping up on there. What the hell? It's not even asking. It's not even asking me about the. Okay, yeah, there. It obviously connected. So, I didn't know if it was gonna connect or not. But anyways, before we can get into this, I want to say we're at 160 subscribers currently. We don't know for how long though, but currently we have 102 videos, 160 subscribers. 102 videos is a lot for 160 subscribers. But I'm trying to post out content for everyone, not just for racing, but I just wanna make that clear. I also might do some WWE 2K20. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. I probably might record GTA 2, but it is what it is. So, we're going to get into the video in 3, 2, 1. And if it goes to full screen, 0. Drink water, folks. Drink water.
Hi everyone, my name is Dimitri Kosko. I'm the CEO of Motorsport Games. We recognize that our launch of NASCAR 21 Ignition didn't meet some of your expectations. And as you guessed, it didn't meet some of ours either. We set out to create really great NASCAR gaming experiences, and we knew that delivering you another NASCAR T sequel just wouldn't do the justice. So we set on a really tough journey to build it all from scratch, packing it with the latest graphics, the latest physics, AI, etc., to try to really bring you, the community, the best possible experience that we could do. And just like many other innovations in the marketplace, when they're launched, they don't always go as smooth, and that's kind of what we experience. However, we still are really, really committed to working on creating the best possible experience, the most authentic and joyful NASCAR gaming experience. And one of the things that we believe to show you our commitment is that we want to get even better at being more transparent and more authentic on our intentions. So we launched this town hall concept where we're giving you the opportunity to ask us anything and allow us to showcase on how transparent we are, and we'll respond to those questions. Your feedback.
Now, here's the thing: they've been obviously silent for, I don't know, the past couple of months, and then they came out with a roadmap for each, of course, for each update. One for January, one for February, and one for April. January would be the update we currently have, which is stages. The stages, the private parties, and DLC number 3. And DLC number 3 actually was obviously Bobby Labonte and some new paint schemes from the playoffs. But now we gotta wait for DLC 2, which is gonna be the next gen cars in February. So I don't know how the next gen car is gonna turn out in this game, due to the fact that we have bugs in this game and they've never been fixed. But obviously they're trying to show commitment, but they're failing to, due to the consumer just not wanting them to have NASCAR on there. And I mean, come on, dude, why? Y'all gotta be at least, but I gotta say it right, at least just stay with them, bear with them. Honestly, they're trying to make the best games out there, but we would have to wait for NASCAR 22 as well. So hopefully NASCAR 22 is going to be better. So let's continue the video.
Feedback is really, really valuable to us. It allows us to not only get better today, but also shape the products of our future. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time and asking us questions and sending us feedback and telling us what you really enjoy and some of those things that don't bring you the experiences that you would like. So I could continue on saying on how committed we are and how much we're pushing this franchise forward, but let our actions speak louder than words. But in the meantime, let me take you on an inside look of the NASCAR 21 ignition and answer some of those questions. Thank you.
Will you add a rearview mirror and or side view mirrors to the game? We need a rearview mirrors and side view mirrors. So honestly be interesting what they say.
Yeah, so lots of people have been asking about the rear view mirrors. So we had originally planned NASCAR 21 to be a next-gen only release, but as we were developing the game, we saw that there weren't enough of the next-gen
a lot of
consoles
diecast
being
books
sold in,
and plants.
we recognized that the majority of our community were going to be remaining on the previous generation of consoles. So we took the quite difficult decision.
I just noticed something. He has a lot of diecasts. Like, you see all these diecasts in the background, and then you see all these plants. I don't have plants, but I have a lot of diecasts too. I mean, this dude has a lot of books as well. So that's pretty cool. Mostly diecast. The diecast I actually love about this guy in the background. That's pretty cool. I actually like it. In fact, I do have diecast myself. A lot of them, actually. Mostly Chevrolets.
To actually, scale the game back to run on these earlier generation machines, and that's why we had to make this compromise. So you'll see that players on PC do have the rear view mirror, and I'm hopeful that with our next gen upgrade that's coming later this year, we may be able to reintroduce mirrors for console players. But if you're running on the low end PS4s and the base level Xboxes, you're still not going to have a mirror in NASCAR 21.
You know, which is quite stupid, because we've had mirrors for, like, a very long time, since, like, I do want to say the NASCAR Thunder days, if I do gotta be honest. EA Sports literally put in rearview mirrors, and they continued it, and, like, my god, dude. They literally had rearview mirrors. It wasn't in NASCAR, I think in 2011, as far as I remember. But you know what? That is just stupid. They should have added rearview mirrors for once. Because that is like the major part of the game is the rearview mirrors. They should have added them. They never added it. I don't get why. I'm more sim racing whenever it comes to this, but mirrors is just the biggest thing in our games, in our racing games, to be exact. And yeah, we shouldn't have to deal with that. Now, Monster Jam, it's okay if Monster Jam doesn't have rear view mirrors, because all it is on that track is dirt, and it's big wheels, big trucks, and that's just all it is for the monster trucks. It's okay they don't have the rear view mirrors for that game, but NASCAR is a huge, huge deal. Let's continue. Will you add a fuel gauge or tire wear indicators to NASCAR 21 Ignition or in future NASCAR games? This is huge.
Yeah, we've had a few questions about this, and the approach we wanted to take was one of authenticity. I feel that so many games out there today are essentially play by numbers. You see all the information delivered to you in the HUD, and you're able to react to it in a way that's not that authentic to how the drivers get to drive these cars in the real world. In the real world, there's no tire wear indicator. Essentially, the driver's feeling the tires go off in their hands, and when it comes to fuel, really all you get is a fuel pressure warning when you have to switch over to your reserve tank. There's no full fuel gauge showing the tank draining. So this is something that the driver works with their crew chief to strategize around, and they make choices as the race goes on. Now, we are, after all, making a simulated experience. It is something I think we can do a better job of informing the player about, but we need to be careful about how much of this information we produce on screen versus the experience we're trying to deliver. So we want to strike a good balance between authenticity and information for the player in the future.
All right, well, I did not even expect it. I mean, it, like, if you take a look at one of my videos, right, on NASCAR 21 Ignition, whenever they first announced the game, I suggested like a realistic, if I gotta be honest, I suggested like a realistic speedometer or whatever it was. I think it was a realistic speedometer because of how digital it is inside the car. Let's see if I can find it first. It was somewhere. It was somewhere. I just gotta make sure I find it. Interesting. Like, I don't know if I can find it or not, but this is. Reaction one. Where could it be? Discuss the fucking. Okay, no, it's not down here. It would be up. Oh, I did not want to click on that. This is quite an interesting idea. It was an idea that I obviously wanted, but if I can find it, that'd be lovely. Shit. I don't know if I can find it. I don't really know if I can find it or not. It's not that. It's called the. Why did I honestly put NASCAR discussion? Okay, this is obviously the first episode of the. NASCAR discussion. It's obviously NASCAR 21 Ignition. This is obviously the first episode of this. Before it was like NASCAR 21 Ignition. This is the very first episode, and it was for my wish list. It's renamed it now, but this is the very first episode of this whole series, and they didn't even have the name for it. But I don't even know if I'm still alive or not. But it's just. Obviously, this was like a huge thing. I
do like a roster change, or like a NASCAR, or like a 2021 update in NASCAR Heat 5 as well, to where.
Now, obviously, I suggested this, but it was over on. But now it's all of a sudden on the. But it's now all of a sudden like NASCAR Heat Ultimate Edition Plus. So I suggested that. That came true.
Usually update their drivers, and they do need to update that.
Just take a look at my NASCAR 21 wish list, the very first episode of NASCAR 21 Ignition, and you'll see what I mean by that. I did before her wanted a good game, but I didn't expect it to be like this. So let's just hope for the best. I did ask for a realistic speedometer, and like I've also did like also wanted a 2021 roster change on NASCAR Heat 5, which is obviously now on Nintendo Switch. If you take a look back at that, I wasn't expecting for them to listen to that as well. Like that's a huge thing that they actually listened to that. I don't even know really if they did, but that is quite interesting. That like out of nowhere, that is the most interesting thing I've ever heard and it was from one of my videos. I have no other words but to say thank you for listening to those suggestions I wanted, but it's not what the fans also wanted for a game. They've also wanted other shit too. Not just it's the bad game, but it is pretty obvious. So I'm gonna see if I can get any other people. Like if I can see.
Yeah, this is a great question. It's something that we want
It's gonna be right here.
As we move towards the next gen cars.
I'm gonna take a look at the chat. When it comes on,
because these cars have loads of new adjustments and settings compared to the cars that ran in 2021. So it's something we'll be looking to do as we move into the next game.
And here's the thing. I've even said, let the people be realistic, and that's where, or not realistic. What was it? Let the people be creative, and that's when they came up with that paint booth.
2021. So it's something we'll be looking to do as we move into the next game. Yeah, a few people have been asking about this. It's actually really complicated. So we could add a toggle for motion blur, but the effect that is actually seen in game is a combination of a number of factors. Motion blur is included in that, but there's other post-process effects at play. There's anti-aliasing, and there's a frame rendering, and updating algorithm. So all of these things kind of combine together.
What's up, Tyrone, my guy?
So
what's up,
adding
fly
that
guy?
toggle, which is feasible, may not actually alleviate your concerns. So what we're going to look at is how we can perhaps combine all of these settings together. But it's something that we'd only be able to do in the future. Yeah, so we're working on adding support for more wheel manufacturers where we can on NASCAR 21. When it comes to adding things like H-pattern shifters to the game, this is something that we're looking to do in the future. And we're also hoping to add more adjustments to the wheel settings so that you'll be able to customize your experience more. We know that this is something that's really important for wheel users, and it definitely is going to come into play more as the game gets more competitive. Because people will want to be able to set their wheels up so that they can get the best performance out of them.
That's good.
So this is a good question. In the career in Ignition, you're essentially signing a contract and running for an existing Cup Series team. So you're always going to be jumping into their car with their existing paint scheme and their sponsors. So we felt it didn't really make sense for you to have your custom scheme in there, essentially allowing you to run whatever sponsors you like or whatever colorways you're running.
Okay, let me pause that right there. So, last game in NASCAR Heat 5, we actually got to run that paint scheme in NASCAR Heat 5, and we got to create our own team, like, of course, as a driver as well. Dale Sr. actually did that too. Dale Earnhardt actually created his own team as a driver, and so did Michael Waltrip. Um, it was all the way back in the like if I got to be honest, Michael Waltrip with Michael Waltrip Racing, Dale Earnhardt with Dale Earnhardt Inc. Like Dale Earnhardt Inc. actually was like Dale Earnhardt's biggest like motorsports team, and like then you got like Michael Waltrip Racing, and that also lasted. Both those teams lasted, and Donor Inc. obviously just combined teams with. Um, if I got to be honest, one of the teams was. It had the old one in it, but I can't remember what it. But it was one of those teams, and then it also combined with Chip Ganassi Racing as well. And yeah, they and it's obviously due to Trace Earnhardt, but I don't want to get too. I don't want to get too deep into that, but yeah, I'm not. But obviously on NASCAR 21 Ignition, they are doing a good job. Let's be honest about that. I don't want to be like they're doing a bad job, but they're doing a good job too. But let's continue the video. Ooh, this is actually a good question. Hold on. Can you add custom names or gamer tags to the car schemes? That is honestly a good question, cause they didn't put on the cars themselves in the game, so that's actually pretty interesting. Let's actually just listen to their answer on this one.
Yeah, when it comes to custom schemes online, this is absolutely something that we want players to be able to do. But we have to make sure that there are the necessary reporting mechanisms in place so that players are able to report schemes that they find offensive or they don't want to see on their own system. And that's extremely complex. So it's something that we're working on, but I can't promise that we're going to see it for NASCAR 21. With regards to getting your name on the car, that's something that we're investigating for the future as well. NASCAR have shared the new windshield banner designs for 2022, and we see there as being good opportunity for the player to get their name on the car through that system.
Ooh, this is actually pretty good. Will you bring back Celebration and Burnouts to future NASCAR games? Because like last game on NASCAR Heat 5, we actually had like celebrations and burnouts in NASCAR Heat 5. We got to do all that, burn out our own way, and that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, we get this question a lot. It's definitely not going to happen in Ignition, but I'd love players to be able to celebrate their victory in their own way. We're currently looking into ways in which we can do this, but I think, obviously allowing the player to celebrate with a burnout, maybe smoking the tires against the catch vents or going and running across the grass and tearing up the beautiful track logo, are various options there. There's also potential for allowing the player to choose different victory animations, so when they get out of the car in victory lane, they're punching the air or they're holding their steering wheel up like Joey Logano. So there's loads of stuff we could do here, and we're currently investigating ways that we can make that happen. Yeah, this is an interesting question. Challenges are something that we'd love to bring back into future games. But I'd really like to make challenges that reference events that happen in the real world during the season rather than just creating a list of scenarios that you kind of play through. So my dream would be to create challenges, that are based on scenarios that happened in the race that weekend and bring them into the game using a live service. So there's lots of ways that we can do this, and I think it's something that I'm super interested in doing in the future. But currently, it's something that we'll be doing in future games. So a few people have asked about this. We recognise that split screen is a great way to play together. I personally love playing video games with my kids, so I get how cool it is. But right now we don't have any plans to support split screen. It's something that I'd love to try and do, but I think that's going to happen in the future. Yeah, it's a great question. I think with all of the assists off, the car is pretty challenging to drive. This is due to the more authentic physics and tire model that we're using for ignition. I do agree that we could do a better job of giving players better feedback, so when they're losing control, they get the information they need to help them react better. I think for now, our focus is turning towards the next gen car, and we'll be looking to improve the car stability as we work on the new physics for that vehicle. But for now, I think if you're struggling, I'd like to recommend that you turn some of the assists on. We worked really hard to get those assists, helping players keep control of the car, and I'd encourage you to do that. Yeah, we've had a few people ask about this.
Hold on. What did I say?
I'd encourage you to do that.
Just to make sure. Can you update the game to allow player control in the pit lane? That is actually a pretty good question, actually. That is actually a pretty good question, because we do actually have like a pit lane we can actually drive into, which is actually an interesting thing. But the thing is, we can't drive out of the garage area. They need to implement that into the next game. They really do, because that is one thing I would like.
Yeah, we've had a few people ask about this, and it's something we're going to look to do in the future. In order to make it happen, we really need to get more rules and penalties into the game so that we can police player behavior as they drive manually through the pit lane. So we're going to get those rules and penalties in place first, and then we'll look to introduce manual pit stops.
A sec. It's actually playing my phone while I... Alright. This is another thing that they need to implement. It says, can you add a feature where we can drive from the garage to the track for rolling starts? That is a pretty good question.
It's a great question. Personally, I think it's something we'd like to improve on. As I agree, it'd be really, really cool to get pushed out of the garage and then drive through the infield and out onto the track. It's not something we can currently add to Ignition, but I do think we can improve the immersion of heading out onto the track as we work on future games. Perhaps joining a practice session from the blend line, or starting qualifying from the end of pit road and actually heading out onto the track, making sure your tyres are at an optimum point when you hit the start line, so that you can maximise your qualifying performance. We get loads of questions about our AI, and we're always looking to improve them. I think to get the AI running competitively in Ignition, we had to get them running really, really aggressively, and that often leads to them struggling to avoid wrecks. So we have made a bunch of improvements here, and we're trying to get them using more of the track, looking out for wrecks ahead, while also maintaining that aggression that keeps them competitive. It's a really fine-tuning balancing act that we're running here, but we're always looking to improve the AI behaviors. Yeah, great question. We've actually already got a fix in for this that will be coming in the next update, so it should be something you'll see very soon.
Interesting.
Yeah, great question. So again, this is down to the authentic car setups that we're using on the vehicles.
Give me a sec.
And
What
so,
does it say? Why does a car seem to pull to the left and not feel like it drives in a straight line?
Yeah, great question. So again, this is down to the authentic car setups that we're using on the vehicles. At many tracks in the NASCAR calendar, the cars are running a staggered setup due to their tires having different rollouts or circumferences on the right side of the car compared to the left. So that essentially allows the car to more easily turn left, but it does also mean that the car tends to want to steer left even when you're driving down the straights. So in the real world, the drivers get to offset their steering wheel to make that more comfortable for them as they're running down the straights. That's a setting we don't currently have in the game, and I think it's a setting that we should be looking to introduce in the future.
I was gonna say.
So we know a lot of players have been finding this really frustrating, and we've actually got a fix in place for this that's coming in the next update, so you should have this fixed very soon. So we're really excited to be introducing the new private parties feature in the next update. Right now we're introducing it with these numbers because they felt best for us in testing, but we'll be definitely watching how the feature is being used by the community and adjusting them if required.
This is a good question. And this is from Sloppy Joe, obviously. Are there plans to add additional online multiplayer features such as custom race lengths, track selection, points / stats that would assist league racing? That obviously is a good idea from Sloppy Joe himself. I actually like that question. Honestly, that would be such a good idea. And this is coming from Sloppy Joe himself, or aka Joey Stone. That I actually like, because you know what, for me, I've done league racing, at the beginning of this, or no, at the beginning of last year, I want to say, and I started off with trucks. Obviously, I would move my way up to Xfinity, but I started off with trucks, and I moved my way up, and obviously I got to the point where I went to the Cup Series in that league, and I met friends here and there, and this is such a good idea coming from an NASCAR Heat Pro League guy. Honestly, a driver himself. He can, yeah, I would honestly love this idea, dude. Thank you, Sloppy Joe, for this question to them. Holy crap. I just hope he's gonna watch this or not. I don't know. We don't know if he's gonna watch this or not.
The first step here is to give players more control over the sessions that are being created. That way, as a community, you'll be able to run races according to your own rules. And then I think the logical next step from there will be some kind of league support that will allow admins to run leagues, keep track of the results and the stats, and actually aggregate all of those things together and essentially have a place where their leagues can be controlled from.
Now that is a good idea. That is a good idea coming from them. From the league part of things, that is such a good idea. I like it.
Well, thanks for the question, Kyle. The next patch update, 1.4.0.0, actually goes live tomorrow, Tuesday, January 25th, with the playoff DLC pack and the next legendary driver, Bobby Labonte, scheduled to go live on Thursday, January 27th.
Ooh, this is a good question. Can we look forward to the Xfinity and Truck Series in future NASCAR games? Yep.
Yeah, this is a question we get a lot, Jake, from both the community on social media and at the track in person. Our ultimate goal for NASCAR 22 is to ensure that the NASCAR Cup Series next gen car is as accurate as possible in the game. We will look to incorporate the NASCAR Xfinity and NASCAR Truck Series into the console game in subsequent years as we allow our development team to build those vehicles as accurate as possible. We know the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series is essential to the sport of NASCAR and is a huge fan favorite, so it is something that we are looking to incorporate. In previous NASCAR video game titles that did include the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, when you got down to it, those vehicles drove very, very similar or the same. We want to make sure that these vehicles are accurate to life, and an Xfinity Series car drives like an Xfinity Series car. A Truck Series vehicle drives like a Truck Series vehicle, and it's not just all the same thing that you're playing as. So we want to make sure that we get that right and get that accurate. And first up on that is the next the Cup Series next gen. Yeah, this is a really good question, Brian. We work very closely with not only NASCAR but the teams and the drivers when it comes to building our NASCAR video game. And I think our renewed partnership with Motorsports that was recently announced is a perfect example of that commitment. Through that partnership, we'll have access to real-time data from NASCAR Cup Series events, access to drivers and key team personnel, as well as setups and lessons learned throughout the entire course of the season. BJ McLeod and Matt Tifft are not only Cup Series regulars and NASCAR veterans, but they're also avid video game players and have a passion for NASCAR video gaming. And it's something that we all share and we all want to succeed. So, I think that partnership highlights this commitment a whole lot. But also, in addition, as we've been working on the next gen car, we've worked directly with NASCAR and team representatives and manufacturer representatives to access the latest CAD data and photo references for the next gen car. We have had a presence at multiple next gen tests, and just to see the entire industry work together on this, and for us to be a part of that has been very encouraging, and I think it'll come across in the products that come out.
Ooh, this is a good question. Will you continue to release PS4 and Xbox One versions of future NASCAR games? Hopefully they will.
That's a good question, especially with the jump in next gen consoles and the development there. We at Motorsport Games plan to release future NASCAR games for the PS4 and the Xbox One consoles, and expect to continue to do so as long as Sony and Microsoft continue to support those platforms. We will release on those as well.
Ooh, will you be adding cross-platform play to NASCAR 21 Ignition or future NASCAR titles? That is such a good idea.
Cross-platform play is something that we continue to look at for future NASCAR games. It's something that we're continuing to investigate, but as of right now, there are no plans to implement that for NASCAR 21 Ignition.
Ooh, how long will you support and add content and features to NASCAR 21 Ignition? That is a good question.
We continue to improve this gaming experience, at least for the first half of this year. And based on our promise that we're going to be more transparent with what we have going on here, you could foresee us letting you know what is really coming and when it's coming and so on. So don't hesitate to continue to send us comments on NASCAR 21 Ignition, because we continue to listen and we continue to improve this at least for the first half of this year. Well, we definitely have many learnings of launching this type of innovative product, but the main key takeaway and our goals are to continue to strive to be authentic representation of the sport and be a joyful experience. One takeaway is that we created some frustrations to some of you with this release. That is something that we will work extremely hard to not repeat again. So our goals are, on top of
Hopefully you
the list,
don't
are
repeat
really
it again.
to be authentic, joyful, and fun. So not only that we could appeal to the vast majority of the hardcore fans, but also allow that 3-year-old to pick up that controller and really have a joyful experience as they enter the NASCAR digital world.
Hold on. What are Motorsport Games' goals for future NASCAR games? What have been your key learnings from the release of NASCAR 21 Ignition? That is such a good question. I want to know
Our
too.
main goal continues to be to create a really authentic NASCAR gaming experience that wouldn't just be endorsed by the hardcore fans or the majority of it, but also by the 3-year-old that looks to pick up the controller and really have a nice, joyful experience. So that continues to be our goal, to be authentic, joyful, and really fun. But our key takeaways is that we really need to polish our product more for the product release and make sure that we don't miss some of those really core components of the sport, like stages, again, before releasing a game. So from those key learnings and staying committed to creating a joyful experience, you could assure that we could continue to improve year in and year out. I'd like to thank you again for your time, to not just submitting the questions and giving us an opportunity to answer, but also sitting through this video. We really hope that this town hall format demonstrates our willingness to be transparent and our desire to stay in constant communication with you, to show you that the passionate group of individuals that are behind the scenes here, constantly working on improving the product, really, really care. So we hope that this is an example of one of many. Would like to set the precedent of doing this on a certain type of schedule, to assure you that we hear you and that we are working on constant improvement of that experience, so we could be that most joyful NASCAR gaming experience that anybody has ever tried. Thank you again for your time.
Alright, that honestly, I have no other words but to say, I hope the next update for NASCAR 21 Ignition comes on out. I don't really understand why they. I mean, I do understand why they would honestly still update the game to this day, but I believe this is like what? This is like the third DLC with, and this time with Bobby Labonte, of course, but also, if I do gotta be honest, I hope the next gen car doesn't even disappoint, because this next gen car in the next game, and of course in the test session, I mean, I don't understand why NASCAR would switch to it, but I'm just hoping they would be elite. I'm just hoping they're gonna be good with the next gen cars. I hope those next gen cars are gonna do good on the track, and not to mention, we could take a look at what's coming out for the next update, but I honestly don't want to bore you guys with such thing. But other than to say, that was such an interesting Q&A. I can honestly say myself, and it was like and they say it was like a town hall inspired Q&A. I actually like what Joey Stone actually put, the NASCAR Heat Pro League driver, I mean, he does really he actually got that question down, and that is actually a pretty good question, and they're thinking about doing that. They're thinking about doing that type of thing. That is honestly pretty cool. Now, obviously, I don't know if they're going to go with an F1 2021, 2022 style of this, but yeah, I'm just hoping it's gonna turn out like that. I hope we get to speak into the microphone, of course, with the information we need, and not to mention, I hope we get to. I'm obviously hoping we get to create our own teams as well, because Tony Stewart created his own team as a driver. Donhart actually made his own team as a driver on RCR, but he's created another team called Donhart Inc. And then you got another driver like Michael Waltrip, and he's made Michael Waltrip Racing as a driver. So we don't know if we do not know if they're gonna create like a. If I gotta be honest, I don't know if they're gonna create like that or not. But I'm just saying, from my perspective, those are the drivers that created their own teams as drivers, and they've honestly done that, and I kind of feel that's what they should do for the next game. I can honestly say that, and I hope they do that league racing for the next game as well. But yeah. Anyways, I'm a head out. Be expecting a new video tomorrow, as I might do, of course, super late models on SR Escape the game. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. See where I go with this, and yeah. Without further ado, my name is Officer Waters Gaming. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe for more. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next episode. And yeah, see ya.